Hey, what's going on, you guys? Kellen from Movement Parallels Life here, and today I've got another video taking a creative look at using the gymnastics rings. So the first video was on hanging, creative ways to hang, so if you missed that, you can go back and check it out. Today's video is going to look at swinging and pulling movements. So everybody knows ring rows and pull-ups. We can take those exercises and turn them into movements, make it a little bit more playful and a little bit more practical. So the video will go through some different movement variations, and then at the end I've pulled things together into a workout that you can try on your own. If you like the video, as always, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you're looking for more content on primal movement and unconventional training, check out my Patreon page. All right, that's enough of an intro. Let's get into the movements. We'll kick things off today with a look at ring rows. This is a classic exercise for strength and creating healthy, balanced shoulders. Most people are familiar with this exercise, but often the details get overlooked. Proper core and scapular stability are key for this movement. And tempo is very important. I encourage you to take a pause at the top of the row. Really feel the shoulders and the upper back contract, and you should be able to freely turn your head so your neck isn't overly tense. The straight arm swing requires you to maintain shoulder stability while the arms are fully extended. It's worth mentioning that with these swinging variations, you'll want to attach the rings to a smooth surface to avoid shredding the straps. The higher you set the rings, the easier these straight arm swings will be. For the sake of consistency, keeping the rings at about shoulder height is going to work really well for both the rows and the straight arm swings. Start with a low intensity swing, swinging forward, tapping the ground, and then swinging back. You can begin to integrate these movements by layering in a few ring rows between every couple swings. Combining these movements will help you manage the fatigue and keep your muscles under tension for longer. Next, we'll look at an upright ring row. You can consider this a pull-up modification, but even if you can do pull-ups, this movement has a lot of benefit in its own right. The value here lies in your ability to control the tempo, maintain better alignment, and strengthen through a full range of motion. Place your intention on quality of movements. It's really easy to get caught up in just banging out those reps and finishing the set by any means necessary, and it kind of becomes a grind. If you scale things back a bit, you can focus more on maintaining proper alignment and stability and expressing strength through a full range of motion, and this is where you're going to make those gains. Next, we're looking at the bent arm swing. This swing demands the same shoulder stability as the straight arm swing, but demands more strength from the forearms and the biceps. On the other hand, the bent arm swing brings you into a more compact shape, which makes the swing slightly easier than the straight arm variation. So really, it's a trade-off, and ideally, you're working to integrate both the bent arm and the straight arm swings. Consistent and mindful practice will lead you to a higher quality of movement, and that means building the strength and the neuromuscular control to allow the arms to fluidly extend into the straight arm position and then actively pull into the bent arm position as needed. And I often talk about this as a process of creating movement. It starts with learning these isolated pieces of movement, these exercises, and really connecting with them, learning how the movements inspire strength in the body, how they challenge the body, learning more about alignment and form. But from there, we want to continue the process of expansion, taking these different pieces of movement and beginning to integrate them. So this is a demonstration of the integration of swinging and crawling. You can take a more intuitive approach to combining these types of movements, or you can line out exact sets and reps. It's really whatever works for you. These two types of movements pair nicely. For one, the transitions between swinging and crawling can occur very fluidly, and that allows you to stay in constant movement. From a training perspective, we're creating balance between pulling and pushing movements, and we're emphasizing the shoulders, creating mobility, stability, and responsiveness. Get as creative as you want with the crawling movements. Just be sure to pay attention to the transitions. Figure out how you can flow and be as fluid as possible, moving from the ground to the rings, from the rings to the ground. Another idea is integrating the rowing variations with some of the hanging variations we discussed in the previous video. And you can continue the integration by bringing together these movements with swinging and crawling. The big takeaway here is the awareness of the process. Start small, work on these patterns and these exercises and get to know them, then start to expand into movement. In this expansion, start to let go of some of the rigidity around these exercises and add these elements of play and flow into your movement practice. You have this array of techniques, and from there you can start to explore the many expressions and the different combinations of bringing those movements together. To me, this is a really cool situation where we're developing a higher level of fitness, but we're also creating this element of artistry in our movements. Make no mistake about it, in this process of playful exploration, you're working incredibly hard. But it's not arbitrary work. It's work that you get lost in. You start exploring and you come across these cool combinations or these interesting movements, and you continue to work to polish those. Good movement is crafted through this repetition of mindful practice. And it's in that process where I think fitness becomes something more than just exercise, something more than just moving your body, but it becomes an expression of self. And when you're in that space, fitness is never a grind. It's a practice and it's a way of life. And before I get out of here today, I'll leave you with this workout that brings together some of the techniques that we've looked at on the rings so far. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and consider checking out my Patreon community where you can get access to my exclusive content. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.